Okay, I want to play this news report, and I want to break some things down here, okay? So, let's listen to this.
She walks down the jail hallway in handcuffs. Marissa Alexander is facing 20 years behind bars, convicted of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. She says she was defending herself, standing her ground from a husband who had been arrested before on charges of abusing her.
He was arrested for doing what to you?
He choked me. He pushed me forcefully into the tub.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there a second before we go on. First things I want people to remember is who has all the say-so and choice in the dating scene in society? The women, not the men. The men don't choose the women do the choosing. And that's a known fact, okay? Second thing I want to remind you of when you're listening to what she's saying this guy did to her, unless somebody's totally psycho, which is 90% of the world, I mean, we're all fucking been dumbed down, but I mean, the majority of people do not just shove somebody or smack somebody for no given reason at all. And media has a bad habit of playing one side of the story and not saying anything to the other side of the story. So what you want to remember here is if he hit her, he smacked her, and he pushed her, what provoked him to do this? What provoked him? Could it be that she provoked the incident? Yeah, because it takes two to fight.
He pushed me so hard into the closet that I hit my head against the wall and I kind of passed out for a second.
Her husband received probation after that incident. Months later, Alexander says she was in the bathroom at their home here in Jacksonville, Florida, when her husband started pounding on the door. She says he was in a jealous rage over text messages on her cell phone.
He managed to get the door.
Why does this sound familiar? A jealous rage over text messages. Well, you never stop to think about this. The women have all the say-so in the dating scene. The women do all the picking. The men absolutely have no say-so. The women do absolutely nothing, no approaching, don't have to impress nobody, don't have to matter. The man has to do all the work. I mean, all the impressing, has to do this to fit the high status quo, just for a woman to even decide to pick him. And then she's get hit on everywhere she goes, and it don't matter if she's married or she's with somebody. Other guys, I mean, in today's society, nobody respects that. Another guy has, oh, well, if I can get into her pants, I'm better than her husband. That's the attitude these morons in society have, so she's hit on continuously. And he knows that if she dumped him, he's back to square one to trying to meet somebody again, where her, well, she just gets approached all the time. She can just take off with somebody right after doing it. Anyhow, onward.
The door open, and that's when he strangled me. He put his hands around my neck.
Alexander got away from her husband and then made a fateful decision. She could have run out the front door and escaped. Instead, she ran into the garage, but says she did not have her car keys and the garage door was stuck. So instead, she grabbed her gun she kept in this garage.
And what did you think you were going to do with it?
I thought that I was going to have to protect myself.
Were you thinking you might have to shoot it?
Yeah, I did. If it came to that, he saw my weapon at my side, and when he saw it, he was even more upset, and that's when he threatened to kill me.
But how is he going to kill you if you're the one with the gun?
I agree. I thought it was.
Okay. So she could have escaped, ran off, and called the police that he done this. I mean, I don't condone him hitting her or pushing her, but I also don't condone her hitting him or pushing him. Okay? So his actions of violence was in the wrong to begin with, okay? But at the same time, what are we hearing here? Why didn't she just go call police?
I thought it was crazy too.
But why didn't you run out the door at that?
There was no other way to get out the door. He was right there.
But what if he would have run around and to go out the door? And your life would have been easier today if you did that.
Yeah, but the law states I don't have to.
The law she's talking about is...
Okay, the law states she don't have to. In other words, what she's saying is, I don't have to go around to try to avoid the confrontation. I got the gun, and he's threatening to kill me when I'm holding a gun on him, okay? And like as if she can't get out of the way, she's holding the gun. Come on, he ain't armed. She's got the gun, not him, okay? I mean, right here, this makes no sense.
Talking about is the controversial stand your ground law. Instead of running, she did what she thought was allowed by law. She believed she stood her ground and fired the gun into the wall. Nobody was hurt, but it was enough to scare her husband, Rico Gray, and he left the house with his 2 young children from a previous relationship. Alexander was safe from her husband, but not from the law. She was arrested, her stand your ground defense rejected, and found guilty by a jury.
Marissa Alexander's husband, Rico Gray, agreed to do an on-camera interview with us to counter his wife's allegations. But a few hours later, he made the decision not to do the interview, claiming that going on camera would put his life in danger.
However, later he sent us an email saying he would do an interview if he got paid, which CNN does not do. But he has already said quite a bit. During a deposition with a prosecutor from the Office of State Attorney Angela Corey and a defense attorney for his wife, Rico Gray acknowledged hitting his wife in the past and said this about the shooting incident, quote, "If my kids weren't there, I knew I probably would have tried to take the gun from her. I probably would have put my hand on her." Marissa Alexander's attorney then asked the husband what he meant about putting his hand on her. And Rico Gray responded, "Probably hit her. I got 5 baby mamas, and I put my hands in every last one of them except for one."
So what does this say? This says once again she has picked the bad boy. He don't have a right to put his hands on anybody, okay? But what do you say? I got 5 baby mamas. In other words, he's been out fucking getting her pregnant, and these women, well, what do women do? They keep picking the bad boys and then complaining about the results.
I believe when he threatened to kill me, that's what he was going to do. That's exactly what he intended to do. And had I not discharged my weapon at that point, I would not be here.
But later, at a court hearing to determine whether Marissa Alexander should get immunity based on the stand your ground law, Rico Gray changed his story, saying he lied repeatedly in the deposition to protect his wife, claiming he did not threaten to kill her, and testifying, quote, "I begged and pleaded for my life when she had the gun." The jury deliberated for 12 minutes before
I don't believe him. Excuse me, but I don't believe him, okay?
convicting her. The Jacksonville NAACP wrote a letter to the trial judge saying Marissa Alexander may not have received justice because of her gender, race, or economic status. Some African-American news websites are saying much the same thing.
Okay, now I disagree with this. This is how we keep the race war going. This is exactly how we keep the race war going. We're going to now blame the fact that she's not receiving justice because her skin's black. Okay? But his skin was black too. For one. For two, okay? No. We have domestic abuse here where he don't have a right to touch her. And then you got to think about it. Jealousy, the dating scene, the way everything's stacked against men. Of course, he's going to be jealous, okay? We have a world full of people who don't give a shit if somebody's married or somebody's got a girlfriend already, the girl already has a guy in her life. They're still going to try to take her out from underneath somebody just for the challenge of doing so because our world is that fucked up, okay? And what I'm seeing here is clearly, okay, drama because she wanted the bad boy. She got her bad boy, okay? That's clear. But no, there was nothing here to do with racism outside of the media's got to put the spin in here. Why do they want to put the racism spin in here? To keep the blacks and the whites fighting and blaming each other to strive for more greed, more greed. When people realize what the media is doing here, then they'll see through this garbage.
If Marissa had been white, her stand your ground defense would have been accepted, and she wouldn't be facing 20 years in prison. But Alexander will not say if she agrees with that possibility.
I'm going to be honest with you, I'm uncomfortable answering that.
For now,
Now this time, I have to congratulate her. She's the one in trouble. But she won't say whether she agrees to that or not, okay? I actually condone her. I mean, I agree with her there because, no, this is not racial. There's nothing racial here. Outside of the media, and other people are trying to throw a racial spin into this.
For now, she sits in the city jail, awaiting her sentencing scheduled for next week. She had a baby girl with Rico Gray almost 2 years ago. But
Let's think about something else real quick. She pulled the gun. Now, sure, she didn't shoot him. She shot through a wall. But now, what if that bullet would have traveled outside the wall and hit somebody walking down the street? Think about that. Or traveled through the wall, went through a window of the house next door, went in and hit somebody in their home. That very well could have happened because she shot through the wall, that bullet, unless the wall actually stopped the bullet, it could have penetrated the wall and hit somebody. She's the one that pulled the gun rather than going to get in the police, and she's the one that picked the bad boy.
But she only sees her child in photographs. That's because Rico Gray has custody. He's considered the victim, his wife the criminal.
This is my life I'm fighting for. This is my life. And it's my life, and it's not entertainment. It is my life.
He's the victim. Yes, he is the victim. He is the victim because she pulled a gun. Okay? She was a victim of him hitting her, yes. But when she pulled the gun on him when he wasn't, he didn't have a gun, it's very clear that turned the situation around.
The 20-year sentence is a mandatory 20 years, meaning no chance of parole. Gary Tuckman, CNN, Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, and as far as the stand your ground law goes, the stand your ground law wouldn't apply here anyhow. How could it apply? He would have to physically have a gun or something himself where she was in fear he was going to shoot her and she had a gun and she shot him. Okay? That's not what happened here. This is clearly not she was in fear for her life situation. She had a chance that she could have gotten away from the situation. She chose to stay there and grab the gun. I mean, it's common sense. Rather than go get help when she had a chance, she chose to go get the gun, okay? Now she's there with the gun. She's got the drop on him because she's got the gun, not him. Now, I don't believe he says he changed the story later on and says he was begging and pleading for his life. I don't believe that. I believe he's lying there. What I see clearly here is this is another example of a female who's picked out the bad boy. Once again, look at his history. His baby mamas, and he's laid his hand on all of them. It's very clear. Look at the history. She picked the bad boy. And as far as the media throwing the racial spin into this, bullshit. They just want to keep the tension between the blacks and the whites. And I hope anybody with any common sense can see through that hogwash, because that's exactly what it is hogwash.